Today is a day I'm answering a question from someone, an enthusiast, a filmmaker who asked a genuine question about film festivals, and akaniambia tu niaje Wilson, I submit my movies to film festivals, but hiyo time yote nimesubmit ever since I've started working in the industry producing these short films, feature films. I've never gotten a nomination or even a callback or even being listed, leave alone winning. I've not gotten anything. So akaniuliza, what am I doing wrong that is making me not win or get nominated? So of course that is a subject to discussion because of sometimes festivals can be very subjective na zinaweza kuwa na reason why maybe akuwa anapata nomination in some festivals, and maybe some festivals were not selecting his movies and something of the sort. So we sat down and came up with something. I had to watch some of the short films zenye alikuwa na submit to particular festivals and wanted to understand now what could be the issue of why the films are not getting recognition or even nomination or even hata kunominate hata huyo actor peke yake, because you see now sometimes when you get a film is listed in a nomination or maybe an awards, inapataga ule best actor or maybe a certain kind of crew person kama camera, the cinematographer, the editor, the sound people, they get recognized, but the movie haijapata anything. So I watched some of the two films and then we were able to identify now the reason. And of course, after we had that comprehensive discussion with him, he was very grateful, and I know going forward this is somebody you need to watch this space. You need to watch. You'll see a lot of his content now coming out, and he is going to be an award-winning filmmaker. You see, the way people call themselves an award-winning filmmaker, it gives you a notch higher when you're meeting clients, when you're meeting new people, when you're connecting yourself with producers and other jobs. It gives you a notch, like a level higher than where you were when you were beginning all this process. So film festivals are very important, of course, because they help network and also they help build your audiences, because you're also able to get people who can appreciate your films through such festivals, and you're able to build new audiences and stuff like that. So after we've had that comprehensive discussion, Kamambia, I think this one, it is something I need to talk about it, because a lot of people submit movies. When you hear these festivals talk about how many submissions they got, even when you hear about Kalasha, the Kalasha is by Kenya Film Commission, they talk about how many submissions they got. And looking at the submissions they got and the number of films that were only slotted for nomination, unapata they can be receiving like 2,000 movies, but they slot only 70 to go into maybe screening and maybe getting to be awarded on various categories. So you wonder, like, what is happening with these other ones? Why are these other ones not getting? Why are we not getting? So having that thin line of just selecting and maybe narrowing down to a particular film, I'm going to take you through some of the things or maybe criteria that you need to understand, or tips that you need to know to understand and get to know why your film is not receiving any nomination, or maybe getting listed for an award, or maybe listed to be screened in a festival, why your film is not getting there. And I know you want to get there. So if you're a filmmaker and you want to go into festivals and you want to take your movie to festivals, these are some of the things that you need to consider before you go shoot your first movie, or you go shoot that movie to take it to the festival. So number one, of course, why your movie is not getting recognized in the festivals, you have a very weak storyline. Yes, your storyline is not strong enough to grip the audience. So you have a very weak storyline, haina any emotions that is driving the audience to bring a feeling to the audience. You see, for movies we have to feel. I think every content, we just have to play around with emotions and see how we can manipulate the audiences, because audiences are manipulated by emotions. And if your film doesn't have an emotion or something that can manipulate the audience to feel a certain way, either to feel happy, to feel angry, to feel sympathetic, or to just have a different kind of emotion about the characters and even the story, your story is not strong enough. So how do you fix that? You rewrite and refine. So number one, rewrite and refine your script. So make sure your story has a unique hook. Isikuwe tu ni story too plain. In as much as you're telling that linear type of story, let it not be just a plain story to in a flow alafu inaisha, like it doesn't have any speciality, like to say this is identifying this story with this particular kind of this particular filmmaker. So make sure you have you rewrite and refine. Then the other thing is develop strong characters. Make sure the characters that you are having in your story, they are characters that are able to connect with your audiences. And how do you build characters that connect with your audiences? Build the characters with emotions. What are some of the emotions that you are going to portray? Even if a character is a bad person, give the person a justifiable mean of why they are bad people. So that, kuna wale tu audience tunapendaga villain. Unapataga umse amuue, ampige. Like, okay, we become bad people. Look at our morals. Yeah, but we root for a certain character. We root for an assassin because of the kind of emotion to build here, to feed sisi kama audiences. So when you're writing your characters, make sure these characters are able to fit that particular story, and there are characters who are able to resonate with the audience. Usiache audiences wako wana struggle to understand what type of a character is this, okay? So the other thing is emotion is key. So if your film doesn't make people feel something, it's just forgettable. Like if I can't feel anything about, if you ask me about the movie, you movie mlenda kuwatch ilikuwa about nini? I'm trying to remember. But if you felt angry, you will remember. Even if you will not remember the storyline, you'll remember that manze, that guy was bad, manze. Me, I didn't like how that guy was treating that woman. You have now an emotion that is connected to you with that movie, and that one will give you a notch higher to strengthen your storyline or your story structure when it comes to filmmaking a film that you're submitting for festival. Then number two tip that you need to also take into consideration when you're shooting movies, especially movies that you intend to take for festivals, this includes short films and feature films. Number two, you just need to production quality matters. Production quality matters. The kind of production you're doing for your movie, it really matters. This includes how you do your setups, how you do your costume, how you do your props, how you do your set designs. Really matters. Because again, at the end of the day, you cannot tell me somebody is acting as a doctor, is in a surgical room, alafu tunaniambia tu unajua sasa si hatukuwa na pesa ya kuchukua kununua hizo costumes za huyo daktari, ati sasa tuliavu tu kumweka mahali tu anaingia na t-shirt kwa surgical room. Manze, that one of course your story already itakuishaenda off the market. Like even the judges and the jury will not be ready to look at your story and be like, the kind of shots that you're using, you want to tell an emotional story and you're using a lot of wide shots, full shots, so we are not able to connect with your character based on how you're doing your lighting, your cinematography, and even sound. Sound atakani. Everything else is good, but sound is bad. Oh my friend, you too, it's done. Like even me, even if I'm a jury, man, I can't. Why should I be struggling? We have a lineup of 1,001 movies still being lined up here, and your movie is just one, and you have a problem with sound. Manze, it's easy. We can't waste time. Just remove the thing. Let's put another one. Next. Yes. So check on that. Check on things to do with sound. Check on your cinematography. Check on your set design. Check on your props and costuming. Yeah, make sure these things. And sometimes I know, sometimes we can't afford these things. But how can we creatively work with what we have? Can you go borrow? Wacha kujifanya hapo ati sasa uiziomba ati sasa unataka enda uombe msee. Enda uombe. Kama ni nguo ya daktari, enda uombe. Kama ni nguo ya lawyer, enda uombe. Make your story believable manze. Hakuna mtu mwenye atakuja kukare whether you are shooting a low budget or not. At the end of the day, you are going to compete with people who have watu wamejituma bana. Yeah. So production quality matters. And how do you fix it? Use proper lighting and composition when you're doing your lighting, and even camera work. And it's also more important to also just make sure you're taking care of props, costume, and even set design, so that you can have very nice frames and composition, things that will complement your story. If your people are acting in a restaurant and the script says they are eating, and umewekea empty plates kwa meza juu, you can't afford just to buy them maybe a plate of French fries or maybe a cup of tea or coffee. You see, now that one is you making your story lack some bit of production quality, that something that is pushing the story forward. Yes. So now taking as if need be, manze, just borrow or rent. Yes, just borrow or rent ndio upate hizi vitu, kama ni cameras, kama ni equipment, kama ni things to do with costumes, props and stuff like that. You can either borrow or rent them, and just make sure that your story, your production is of top notch. Okay? The other thing that you need to understand that why your film isn't being nominated or maybe getting wins in film festival is your film doesn't fit the festival's theme. Yes. So yeah, I know this might sound interesting, but I know most of the people normally just submit for the sake of submitting. They're submitting blindly. So even I've been in that position sometimes. So there's a sports festival competition. I think there's a sports festival, films that are shot with sporty themes. There's a festival for you guys. I don't know, I don't remember the name, but it's something Kenya Sports and Film Festival, something of the sort. So wewe umeshoot movie yako ni ya femicide, unaisubmit huko kwa watu wa sports, si unaona tu hata judges hawatakuwa na time ya kuwaste kusema at least ni movie hiyo imedisqualify. So you need to make sure you check the kind of festival you are submitting your movie to. There are certain themes they're very specific with. There are certain criteria they're very specific with, and also kuna pia film festival rules. Watu hawasomi. Wamekuambia uandike, provide a metadata of your content. If you're doing a short film, it's a short film competition, and wewe umepeleka pale movie ya 60 minutes. What are you doing, bwana? That is not a short film. That's a feature film. Guys, you need to get that. So you need to read through the instructions of the festival. Festival imesema we are doing short films below 20 minutes. Wewe umeenda pale na movie yako ni 25 minutes. So you see already when you are disqualified, utaanza kulaumu nani? Hakuna mtu utalaumu, because however good your movie is, however your story is good, however good your story is, movie yako hautakuwa nominated or hautakuwa selected for that particular festival because you didn't meet the criteria. You didn't read through the festival rules and regulations, and also you didn't understand the theme of that festival. So make sure the pro tip here, or maybe how to fix this, is research about the festival before submitting. Okay? Criteria imesema movie ambazo zimeshutiwa 2020 and below, or maybe 2020 and above. Wewe uko na movie yako ya 1992 unataka kuleta hapo usubmit kwa festival. Read and research about the festival, manzi. Research about the festival, you'll be able to understand what the festival needs, and consider also niche festivals. So this is whereby your film may not make it into maybe easy big festivals, but you can start small. Kuna these festivals zenye ndo zimekuwa, they are only maybe 3 years old, maybe 5 years old. Na kuna zile zenye kama Oscars, kama hizo Cannes, kama Sundance, kama TIFF, the Toronto Film Festivals. Those are festivals that have been there for years. So which ones are you going for? Start hizi kidogo ndo uweze hata kuona ukinominatiwa unajua, by the way, kumbe I'm moving in the right direction. I am able to read the festival rules, I'm able to understand them, and yeah, just start small. Okay? Yeah, usidharau hizi festival ndogo zenye zimeanza, na hata si ndogo, ni vile ndo imeanza. It's just new, let me call it new, and it's a niche. You can use that as an advantage to be that it's new, so they don't have a lot of films that they're receiving for submission. Start there. Then another thing that makes your film not to be submitted, the competition is tough. Guys, manze, you can imagine a judge has like 10 movies. They have the movies ziko well told, the story is so nice, the production is so good, everything else is so good. Now the judge has ameambiwa chagua tu moja, out of 10 choose one. Hata wewe ikiwa ni wewe, what will you do? Yes, what will you do? So that is now the position. Now you find that the film imekuwa too tough, the competition is very tough, na watu wamesubmit, na unapata maybe you are the unlucky one. Yeah, so they just look at ka mistake kadogo tu ka mistake, and then you are out. Okay, so that is something you need to also just factor in. So what you need to understand about it, you watch the previous festival winning films and see what they did. Of course, that one is, I can't advise you to do that because it's very misdirecting. You can think you will use a sample of a movie that won in the previous festival, then wewe na akili yako uende kufanya with such kind of a style, ukikuja upate wase wamekuja wameenda wame up game wewe umebaki pale kwa kufanya vitu za last year. So of course, just make sure what you need to do is, with your film, go and critically ask for feedback. Ask for feedback, and especially honest feedback. And also keep improving on your filming. Don't do whatever you did the previous time. Now the next time, do it more better. Okay? The other thing that really makes your film not to be selected, or maybe to be nominated, or maybe win in a film festival is your editing. Poor editing and poor pacing. Hey, so sometimes we have these movies that are very long. Scene ni mrefu. People have acted mpaka unaanza kuiona ukiwatch your scene. The scene is too long. Can you, as an editor, cut those fluffs and pace the scene in a style that hiyo movie tunaweza iona na pace flani? In as much as a scene can be long, can it be more interesting? So now there's one calls for the editor, for the director pia, na the people who are shooting. Can they make it more interesting? Ikikuwa ni long scene, watu tu wamekaa kwa restaurant ati wanaongeleshana wawili hivi wanaongeleshana, and the scene is like 3 minutes or 4 minutes. Manze, that one is, if you're not having any hook there, like the food or maybe the things that they are doing in that table is something that is moving the audiences or moving the story forward, manze, pace yako utakuwa umeharibu. So make sure you do, when you are editing your movie, consider the pacing of your stories. Consider the pacing of how you come out from one scene to another. Wacha kuweka hizi masijui ma establishing shots 1050, and sometimes you don't need, we already established to us that these people have this kind of a home. So you don't need to be, every time the house is being shown, you're showing us the establishing. Not unless this change of time, show us that. But make sure the pace is, if the rhythm, editing is all about rhythm. So rhythm yako kama ilikuwa inaenda try and consider your rhythm, because that is what keeps the audiences stick to watching your movie, and also it makes your movie favorable for the jury to just watch it, love it, and maybe select it for the festival. Okay, so make sure your rhythm is very particular, very specific, and it's something that is gripping. Yeah, when tukifika lessons za editing in the coming videos, when we reach the story, the mambo za editing, we'll be able to talk about things to do with pacing, things to do with how you arrange your shots to make sure that the story is gripping, and how you tell your story with shots as well. Ukikata movie usikate kama music video, please. Music video cutting is different from movie cutting. Of course, there are certain music videos that are cut in precision as a short film, but make sure music video is a movie, by the guys. So let's get the difference. That's why you find a movie director going to direct a song, kuna venye ataipatia touch ya film. But a movie, somebody who has been directing music coming to direct a movie or maybe edit a movie, yes, utaona tu difference. Unajua watu wa music video mnakataka kapisi kamoja hivi, mnaweka, mnachukua hii mnaweka cutaway imekatwa separate from the main thing. But in a movie you find that if this is my phone calling and I want to show my reaction looking at the phone, I'll do the cutaway of my phone, and then I might decide to move from the phone to my face. Okay, so that will be an interesting cutaway, because haitakuwa tu ni cutaway tu ime stand alone. Most of the time music videos are just standalone images. You pick the best movement, the best performance, and then you cut it, you fix it, you cut, fix, you have a music video. But for a movie, you need to be very precision with your shots, and there's a duration your shot needs to stay on the frame so that it can connect with the audiences. So if you don't put your video, or maybe the frames to stay to connect very well with the audiences, sometimes kuna hii frame yenye mtu anakuaga analia, so mtu analia, hiyo frame imestick hapo kwa hiyo close up yake, and maybe it's doing a pushing into the face, and then so when you're pushing it in, it means you're going to stay on that shot for a while, which means you don't need to cut it, because when you cut it you start putting the audience wana lose. Ati una cut, mtu analia, amepigwa kofi, ameanza emotions kulia, then you are on that close up, and then tena una cut, unaweka wide shot, utakuwa umetoa audience kwa ile emotion wameanza kufeel huyo msee, and then unawatoa. We'll check on that when it comes to editing classes. Then even sound design, music, and even color grading should just be something to enhance the story. The kind of music you're choosing. If you're doing something sorrowful, let it make sense, man. Wacha isikwe sorrowful fulani zenye zinakuwa like ma flute fulani hapo hivyo sijui zinapiga mpaka unashanga, like when you're listening to you start listening to the sound, trying to criticize it or trying to understand it, yet you're supposed to be understanding the movie. The sound should enhance the movie, should complement the movie. The type of color grading. You see now, these are things, if you will be editing, and your editing is taking your audience from the story every now and then, with the